It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Sproles, end zone, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. So we've been talking Aggies. We've been talking a little bit about the Jazz, the Mountain West. We got a college football championship game in about 30 minutes from now. So if you want to text in a score prediction for who's going to win the national championship when it's all said and done, 435-339-0321. We were just talking during the break. There's some transfer portal updates with Utah State football. Guys that announced that they had entered the portal. Some have new destinations. And then Utah State has also been active in gaining new players from the portal.
Yeah, I know the Daniel Grishik, he over the weekend, he committed to Cincinnati. He had a lot of Power 5 offers. He ended up going to Cincinnati. Of course, Cincinnati's going into Power 5, so it's not a sideways. It's very much an upward.
Yes, that's an upgrade.
So he's doing well. Byron Vaughns is another guy who's had multiple Power 5 offers. I haven't seen if he's committed yet. Last he noted he got an offer from Florida State among several other Power 5s. But Utah State, as you mentioned, they signed somebody. Or at least got a commit from the now former Stanford wide receiver, Colby Bowman. He's a former 4-star recruit out of, I think, California. I forget exactly where he played his high school ball. This guy didn't really play a ton. He would kind of consistently play in games at Stanford, but never really any real offensive snaps. He's caught 7 passes for 44 yards. That's what he did last year. I think that's his career stats to date anyway. And I think he spent 2 or 3 years at Stanford. He has 2 years of eligibility. That's the important thing. So he's very much one of these, reclamation projects, the former 4-star recruit that you try and hope that the talent's still there. It's not a guarantee by any means. Utah State pulled in a former 4-star recruit last year, and he did diddly jack here. Now he was in one door and out the next.
Well, yes.
So it's not a guarantee that, he's a former 4-star recruit. Okay, that's not. It means the talent is there, but maybe there's also a reason that, it didn't work out at Stanford. 4-star recruits don't just,
Well, there's also a coaching change there, and sometimes that kind of prompts a lot of movement to take place among players. This isn't the guy who recruited me. I don't know, the new guy, their philosophy and how I fit in with that. So now it's an opportunity to try to pursue something else.
Yeah. These guys got good measurables, 6'3", 200 pounds, classic outside receiver. It's the kind of guy that Utah State needs to bring in at wide receiver.
Yes.
They're a bit thin there. The guys they have returning, the experience they have returning is all in the slot. So it gives them a few more options. They have at least one in-house guy that I have confidence in Otto Tia, but the rest of the guys they got to bring in, either you have to get a lot of elevation from the other in-house guys who have seen virtually no time, or hope some of these incoming transfers do well, which they've got a couple of promising transfers that I'm looking forward to seeing in spring ball. So we'll see how they do.
So you're continuing to update. You put together kind of I don't know what you'd call it, a profile of transfers.
Yeah, it's basically a transfer tracker.
There you go.
That's the name of the. It's not the most unique thing in the world. There's ones you can find, but I've kept it updated as much as I can. Updated over the weekend, and I keep updating it. And it's pinned on my Twitter profile if you don't know exactly where to find it, but you can find it there. And so I continue to update it. So there's, it's got the fact that it shows all the people who've left Utah State that I've been able to confirm. Usually it's just them reporting that they're leaving. They put it on Twitter that they're leaving, and that's how we find out typically. And if they've committed somewhere, there's a couple people who've committed. And then I'm also showing the Division I transfers coming into Utah State. This isn't going to cover every recruit coming in. For instance, Utah State signed a junior college guy over the weekend. That's not on here because I didn't include junior college guys. That's just part of the recruiting class.
Right, that'll be part of the February 1st when Blake Anderson will announce that kind of the definitive final recruiting class. Though even then, it's still not really definitive.
Yeah, because there'll still be guys coming in. But we had our early signing class article. We have the transfer tracker, and then we will have basically a second, or I guess you could say a third one, where I try and summarize. All right, these are all the new guys coming in until the next guy comes in. And then another project I'm working on, it's not necessarily going to be a publication, but I have an Excel spreadsheet where I have every player so far that I'm pretty sure is going to be on the 2023 roster. I've had to update it several times for guys leaving and guys coming in, where it's got, I've got all their stats, how many snaps they've played, what year they are in college, everything, every bit of information I can possibly throw on there, including their social media profiles. And it's just for me so I can try and make sense of this entire roster and have as much information at my disposal, but it's a little labor intensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a project.
It is. I've been working on it for like a week and a half now, and I'm like 2/3 of the way done with it, but I have to fit in like between all these other things. I'm like, all right, Keith, let's get like 30 minutes to like look up all these things.
Well, one of those other things that you were doing, which if folks missed it, a really interesting piece you put together over the weekend. News came last week that Utah State would be retiring the jersey for J.C. Carroll, not the number, but his jersey, hanging it in the rafters. A special presentation will take place on February 18th when Nevada is in town at halftime of that game. And J.C. Carroll, a lot of things that he did and accomplished while he was at Utah State. Great, tremendous professional career overseas. Absolutely deserving to have his jersey in the rafters at Utah State. And you put together an interesting profile on other jerseys or numbers that are in the rafters or retired at Utah State, because there were a good number that I kind of familiar with who they were, but I didn't really know what they did. So I'm really glad you put that together. I found it really fascinating looking at some of those other players who have their numbers or their jerseys hanging around the spectrum.
Yeah, that was a really fun thing. It's just right up my alley of things just go dig into some old newspaper articles, dig into some old records, and figure out, all right, why is this person, why do they have their number hanging in the rafters? Like, you think, okay, why is Bert Cook up in the rafters? And the one question I need to figure out is, why on earth did Bert Cook wear number 6? Because as far as I know, that's an illegal number in college. But I guess back then they just didn't care. That was the thing I didn't realize until like on air on Friday. I was like, wait a minute, you can't wear number 6 in college. But this was back in the 50s. And the thing is, Bert Cook, he only had like 4 records when he retired. But he was like the first really good. And he got drafted to the NBA. So it's like, yeah, this is like the first Aggie great. So that's why. It was kind of like, I'm suddenly spacing on this thing. The first like George Mikan. It's like, is George Mikan like, the best NBA player? But he was like the first the first great NBA player.
Right.
And so that's kind of what Bert Cook is too. He's like the George Mikan of Utah State. But then you got, Wayne Estes. Okay, kind of duh. That's one where I didn't feel like I had to go too much in depth on that one. Part of it is, some people may not know exactly who he is, but still, like, he is the name of Utah State basketball. But you also got guys like Greg Grant, Cornell Green, and Marvin Roberts, where it's like, these are guys, back in the day who are on teams that are, we think of, I suddenly spaced his name. The coach that was here for like 20 years.
Stu Morrill?
Stu Morrill. Suddenly spacing on names. Stu Morrill, the Craig Smith, like, you think, those are the great Aggie teams. Like, Marvin Roberts had a team that was ranked 9th in the country. Him and Nate Williams. Two of the better guys, two of the better pro careers we've ever seen at a Utah State. They were a dominant team. They were beating ranked teams. They were winning games in the NCAA tournament kind of back before it was really the NCAA tournament. But still, those are really good teams. And Wayne Estes going to the NCAA tournament. And Cornell Green playing really well. And then not even playing pro basketball, but going on and playing 13 seasons in the NFL and becoming a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of, cool history with some of these guys. just the great players that we've seen here at Utah State, and J.C. Carroll very much deserving to be among them. With some of his records, his scoring records probably not going to be broken, at least not for a while.
Not for a while. Yeah, and I think that we had a little bit of discussion. Would there be any other modern Aggies who would get their jerseys retired? And I think Sam Merrill would be in that discussion. 4 really solid years at USU, multiple trips qualifying the team to go to the NCAA tournament, and just an outstanding shooter and a scorer, represented the university really well. So I absolutely think Sam would be another one down the road. At what point does that happen? I don't know. I don't know if you wait to see if he has aspirations of continuing to play basketball professionally. He's in the G League now. Does he eventually go overseas? Does he make it back into the NBA? Do you go 10 years, 15 years like we did with JC? I don't know. But certainly Sam Merrill would be one who's definitely deserving of his time at Utah State to have his jersey retired.
Yeah, the precedent, at least at this point, seems to be wait till they're retired from the sport. They didn't do that with Burt Cook because they retired his jersey at halftime of the last game he played at Utah State.
How wild is that?
He wasn't even done when they retired his number. So that was interesting. But yeah, J.C. Carroll, like I said, we all knew he was going to get his jersey retired. But I guess they were just waiting for him to retire from basketball or something like that. Can't imagine there's any other reason.
Yeah, it's been a little while since somebody's had their jersey retired at Utah State.
Yeah, so
Greg Grant was the most recent before JC.
Yeah, I don't actually know in what order they were retired. I'd guess Greg, 'cause I think he's the most recent player. So I didn't actually look up when they retired any of these jerseys. I probably should have, but I know they retired Burt Cook's jersey in like 1959, yeah, I don't actually look up when they retired him exactly. I know a lot of them went into the Hall of Fame in roughly the same year, because they established the Utah State Hall of Fame in 1993, so several of them were put in that year. Except I don't think Burt Cook's in the Utah State Hall of Fame. I couldn't find his name in there.
He's got his jersey retired, but he's not in the Hall of Fame.
That has to have been a mistake on my researching, but I specifically looked for it and couldn't find it.
Great article, though. Go check it out on CashValleyDaily.com. Just finding out more about the other players whose jerseys are retired in the spectrum. And Utah State, rough loss at Boise State on Saturday. And one of our pick 6 items, and we'll get to that here in just a minute, but was to look at how many Mountain West teams, home teams, would win on Saturday, because it's proving to be a tough league to win games on the road. But looking at some of the teams that hosted, there weren't very many home teams who did win, actually. Boise was one, and then Colorado State was the other. And Wyoming lost at home. San Jose lost at home. New Mexico, 21st ranked New Mexico, lost at home.
That was a surprising one because they had their entire, I think they sold the pit out. And then they lost. Granted, it's a good UNLV team, but
yes,
that is a super impressive win by UNLV. It just shows that they are a really good team and very dangerous.
Outscored New Mexico by 12 in the second half. Ended up winning by 7 points, but it was a close game. Nevada won at San Jose. San Diego State won at Wyoming. And Wyoming, even though they've been down multiple key guys, they still put up a pretty good fight against the Aztecs, and that's who's coming to town next to face the Aggies. Hunter Maldonado has played well against the Aggies before. He's back from injury. A couple other guys are missing, but that's a team that's had a lot of guys missing over the course of the year. They've only won 5 games all year, but they are no pushovers by any means.
Yeah, they're tough. And they're going to have, there's 5 guys on their injury report. 2 of them are, I'm pretty sure, confirmed out for Tuesday. 3 of them are questionable. We'll see. One of them is their leading scorer on the year, who's questionable. So we'll have to see, or I guess wait and find out in some cases, because they don't always confirm until they submit their starters. But yeah, Wyoming's going to be a tough one. And, you know, even though they're injured, even though they've lost like 5 straight games and injured to heck and back, still going to be a tough opponent. Still going to be hard to win, you know, even though it's at home. That's just the way it's going to be. We've said it time and time again. Every game in the Mountain West is going to be hard to win. There's not been an easy win yet for the Aggies, and I doubt there's going to be an easy win. I mean, maybe when Air Force comes to town, that feels like, you know, on paper, that's the easiest game, and I'm still not convinced Utah State will make an easy game of that. Just because the Mountain West is so hard this year.
Yeah, great teams, great basketball in the Mountain West. And the other home game, like we said, that our home team that won was Colorado State, who beat Fresno State and beat them pretty handily, 79-57.
Fresno State needs to figure out who they are because they like play really well against the Aggies. They like beat New Mexico. They lose to Colorado State by like 22 points. Like, who are you?
Very bizarre. But looking at the net, you know, it's common function that we like to look at, especially on Mondays, just kind of a recap of kind of where things stand in the Mountain West after the week that was. And San Diego State is now the top team in the net at 23. Utah State didn't fall very far. They're at 26. Nevada at 29. And Boise State at 35. New Mexico drops to 50. Kind of surprising that a couple of games that they've dropped here recently. Fresno State, then UNLV. UNLV is at 53. And then there's a bit of a gap here between the next Mountain West team and Colorado State at 108. San Jose at 113. And Air Force at 166. Fresno at 190. And Wyoming at 200.
I forgot to do my weekly like average of all the ranks thing this morning. Might have to just scramble and do it after the show. Just like, all right, got to get this in. Or maybe just do it Tuesday morning. I did it Tuesday last week, but I had an excuse to do it on Tuesday last week because we had a holiday on Monday. But still, I like to do it as a weekly like check-in of not just, you know, NET, but everything.
Right, Ken Palm and others.
Yeah, there's like 9 different computer ranks I'm using at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but there's still 6 teams that are in the top 60.
Yeah.
Of the net. And so that's one thing that we kind of worried about with the Mountain West cannibalize itself. Some good teams at the top, but they just all kind of take turns beating each other and then bringing the conference down a little bit. But as long as that's Utah State's like maybe only road loss, which may be a bit asking too much. But if they don't lose, if it was a quad 1 loss, so it's not really bad. As long as they don't have any bad road losses or even home losses, really, any bad losses on their record, then I think they'll still be okay. Because this conference is the top level, the top half is playing really good basketball still.
And the interesting thing is that you mentioned that Utah State didn't drop too far, even though they lost by like 20 points. So I'm wondering, like, that was the worry I've brought up. That my theory might get challenged if the NET doesn't, you know, drop the Mountain West teams that far when they're beating each other. My theory may be a bit unfounded. So I'm going to have to pay attention and see, all right, that is still a worry if the Mountain West beats each other up too much. But do they fall too far? Because you mentioned, you said 6 teams in the top 60?
Yeah.
If they all roughly stay there, you're probably getting 4 of them into the tournament, which is about on the edge, is about as much as I think they could get in. So if not too many of the teams, like if you're getting like 4 in the top 40, because being in the top 40 is probably fairly safe in the NET. I wouldn't bet on it because I don't really trust the NCAA tournament, the selection committee. But I imagine if the Mountain West can end with 4 teams in the top 4, they can probably get all 4 of those teams in.
Well, right now they've got 4 in the top 35.
Yeah, so I think, we'll see when they start beating each other, because they will, because these teams play each other, and that means one of them has to lose. We'll need to pay attention to, will they fall as far as much as maybe I thought they did. But I guess that's not the worry. My worry is the Fresno State's beating Nevada. The UNLV, or Fresno State beating New Mexico, excuse me. UNLV beating New Mexico, okay, that happens. We'll see if that impacts maybe New Mexico falling too far, or Boise State beating Utah State. Does Utah State fall too far? Right now, they haven't fallen too far. So we'll see. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that theory. Because, my theory was I'm worried it's going to cannibalize itself and you end up with only 2 teams in the tournament. But early returns say, okay, even with some upsets, even with some surprise victory or, upsets, we haven't seen teams fall too far. So I'll have to keep an eye on what my initial worry was and see if it's founded or not.
Right now, New Mexico is the only Mountain West team with a winning record in Quad 1 games, and they're 1-0.
Yeah.
Everybody else is either...
Wait, who's that Quad 1 game against?
That's a good question.
Was that did they play St. Mary's, or was that Iona?
Oh, well, it's probably the Iona game. It's probably what that was. Yeah, I'm sure it was the Iona game. But everybody else is either like 1-1 or 2-2 or 1-2 or even or losing record in Quad 1 games.
It's hard to have a winning record in Quad 1 games unless you're just really good. It just doesn't happen very much.
More on that, and also we've got some of your score predictions for tonight's college football championship game. Love to get more of those. We'll get to some of those texts. Also, Pick 6, who won Pick 6 for us this week. If we tried to predict what was going to happen this weekend, we'll see how close we were. And a lot more to still discuss. Utah State, Utah Jazz. We got high school hoops, Region 11. Now we're shifting to region play. The latest RPI has been released. We'll update you on all that coming up on the Full Court Press.
Hi, this is Tyler. Recently, my father passed away, and White Pine provided the funeral services for our family. They were friendly, thoughtful, and attentive to every detail. It isn't often that a loved one passes away, so it was very important to my family that everything be handled just right. Because my dad was loved by so many people, we had a lot of family and friends that traveled from out of town. I really appreciate how White Pine Funeral Services made sure everyone was comfortable and that the focus was where it needed to be, on my dad and my family. They really took care of us during this tender time.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Has inflation got you down? This is Zach with HSA Depot. Did you know you can save money by using your pre-tax income to buy qualifying medical supplies? Health savings and flex spending accounts can be used for more than just doctor visits and prescriptions. HSA Depot helps you conquer your health care by providing HSA and FSA eligible products, taking the guesswork out of the process. Come to HSA Depot next to Sally Beauty and see how much you can save. HSA Depot, 5-star review.
CubeX Fitness is offering their best deal of the year. For a limited time, become a CubeX member and get your first 2 months for free. Then only pay $15 per month with no contract. Receive the CubeX Nutritional Guide ebook for free. Work out at CubeX with their virtual trainers in complete privacy without any concerns or distractions or comparisons. Make 2023 your year. Achieve your goals at CubeX Fitness in Logan. $75 cancellation fee at time of cancellation.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Georgia and TCU square off here in about 5 minutes from now for the national
more like
championship
15
game.
minutes.
That's true. The broadcast begins here shortly.
Yeah, the broadcast began like
I guess they've had
7 hours ago.
That's true. They've had quite the lead up, but it's getting close. We'll just put it that way. It's getting close.
It's scheduled to kick off in 5 minutes. It'll actually kick off in like 10:15. So I'll start watching it in the middle of our show. So if you don't hear from me for the last 20 minutes of the show,
then we know where Jason disappeared to. Interesting to see kind of the paths here to get to this point for the college football championship. Georgia is favored by 13.5 in this one. Let's take some of your score predictions. 5242 texting into the program. Georgia 38, TCU 17. And 4781, TCU 37, Georgia 34.
Yes, there's some optimism for TCU. I'm surprised they got this far. I thought TCU was going to get their butts kicked by Michigan. They certainly did not. Then Georgia dang near lost. So it was actually really nice that there were some close, actually exciting college football playoff games. I've ragged on the college football playoff for being categorically the worst playoff, both in terms of amount of participation relative to who probably should be eligible, but also the fact that it was actually kind of justified there were only 4 teams because there was always blowouts.
Yeah, the semifinal games were never really that entertaining, never that close.
Even championship games weren't even that entertaining. We could still have a blowout. The best games in the college football playoff may have already happened. I'm hoping not. I hope we're going to get a good one out of TCU and Georgia. I'm rooting for TCU just because I like new blood coming into the championship race there instead of just always Georgia and always Ohio State and always Michigan and Alabama and Clemson and Oklahoma. And even though I'm an Oklahoma-born kid and I kind of root for Oklahoma, it's nice to see new teams getting in there.
And so the semifinal games were really exciting, down to the wire. TCU jumps up on Michigan, and then Michigan comes back on them. A lot of second-half scoring in that game. It, again, came down to the wire. Controversial calls. They got a lot of people talking. And then Georgia and Ohio State. Ohio State has the halftime lead. Looks like they're pulling away. They're going to take command of this game. And then Georgia, 18 fourth-quarter points. Then it comes down to a missed field goal by Ohio State at the end. Dramatic fashion. It's really, really fun and exciting games. Can we expect anything similar tonight, or did not all the excitement get spent just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, we'll see. All I want is a close, exciting game. When you can get that out of the college football playoff, you are way ahead because normally you do not get it. There have not been very many exciting college football championships. There have been some, yes. There have been some. But they've been the exception rather than the rule.
6891, I want TCU to roll Georgia. I don't know that that's going to happen, but Georgia's a really good football team. But looking at this matchup, Georgia's undefeated. They deserve to be there. And they've handled their business, and they've won a lot of games. They've been really good at what they do. TCU, maybe there's a little bit of luck. I don't know, but they have found ways to keep winning games. I'm totally shocked to see them in the championship game. Never would have guessed that TCU would be the team even in the semifinals, but here they are. They keep finding ways to win. So who am I to go against the Horned Frogs when they've done what they've done? But at the same time, I look at Georgia and what their body of work is, and boy, I just have a hard time picking against the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we'll see. It seemed like Ohio State and Georgia were probably the two, best teams in college football. But obviously, Michigan was really good, and TCU managed to beat them. So I don't know. It's hard to say because these two teams, there's not a lot of crossover. You just kind of have to guess. Like, is the SEC that much better than the Big 12? Is TCU good despite playing in the Big 12? They're not playing the SEC schedule. They're not playing the Big 10 schedule. But who knows? They could just be better. I don't know. All that matters is the next, 4 hours or however long this game lasts.
It'll probably push 4 with all the commercial breaks and extended halftime.
It's absurd.
I know.
The turning the halftime show of a big game into a concert is the biggest mistake that's ever been made. Except for the blue turf at Boise State.
It's hard to top that. Again, if you want us to give you your score predictions for the championship game tonight, 435-339-0321. 6891 says, I know it probably won't happen. He was cheering for a TCU to roll Georgia. It could. I mean, it still could. Coach Kirby Smart was he really wasn't praising his quarterback after his team was able to survive Ohio State, even though Bennett did a great job in that fourth quarter and getting in positions to score and to win, ultimately to win. So I found it a little weird. And so I don't know if there's going to be some carryover from that or just learning experience or not. But certainly Georgia's a team that has a lot more experience in this situation. But will they be, as we heard Dan Patrick a little bit ago, will they be one of the few teams to hoist a national championship trophy in successive years? Because only 7 other teams have done it.
Yeah, it's really hard to do, and especially in a more modern era like this, because if you get a team that's national championship worthy, usually you send like 20 guys to the NFL. That happened to LSU, where they put together one of the best seasons in college football history, and half their team went and got drafted in like the first or second round, and then they went back to being what LSU normally is, like good but not good enough to win obviously national title or win the SEC consistently. Alabama's been the only one who's able to do it sort of consistently, where that's why they're one of the best dynasties in history, is because they send 20 guys to the NFL every year, and then they replace them with 20 NFL caliber guys. I don't know how they keep doing it. Georgia, they're starting to be able to do it. They're starting to build a sort of Alabama-esque, at least for a short period of time. Clemson was doing the same thing. Of course, then they fell off a little bit. I say fell off. They're in the back end of the top 10, so it's not like they fell very far, but they fell out of the, where Alabama was always in the playoffs. So who knows? And there's part of me that, I wanted Georgia to win it last year because, again, get new blood, new teams winning the national title. Now that they're back, it's different feelings.
By the way, a couple of different things. There is a report that Rylan Jones will be ruled out against Wyoming tomorrow due to injury. That's been confirmed. Now, there's some question about what his availability would be. I mean, it doesn't come as a surprise. What we don't know is how long he'll remain out.
Yeah, and they're not really disclosing what the injury is. And because I was asking Al Lewis, who's there at the availability, he was telling me is like, they're not really disclosing what the injury is. We can speculate, but obviously we don't know, and they aren't wanting to. They wanting to keep that private, which fair enough. It was amateur sports.
Yeah, due to injury.
Yeah,
that's why he will be missing.
So we'll see how long that is. So we'll expect Stephen Ashworth back in the starting lineup.
All right, another timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, how did we do in trying to predict the weekend? In looking for a couple different items that were going to take place. We set our lines, our pick 6. We'll reveal how well we did. And also, the other thing that was revealed today, the latest RPI standings for 4A basketball. So where does that stand for Region 11? Any movement there, any changes, as those teams will now shift their focus to region play. Non-region games are now done, and region play will get underway on Thursday. So we'll talk about that coming up next on the Full Court Press.
Experts tell us that the 3 areas of balance for proper health are exercise, nutrition, and sleep. This is Ryan, owner of My Mattress, and while My Mattress store can't really help with exercise and nutrition, we can help with better sleep. If a person started today to live a balanced life in health, exercise, and sleep, 3 things might happen. 1, we might throw away the bag of peanut M&Ms that we have stashed. 2, we might get up off the couch and exercise. And 3, we'd come buy a new mattress here at My Mattress.
It's that first kiss, that moment in time.
It's that look in her eye when you get the first sign.
We make it personal, when it's real.
Something for everyone, we know how you feel. Jarrett's fine jewelry, make it special, make it Jarrett's.
Nothing compares to the warmth and feel that a wood stove provides. The 2-time Best of Northern Utah winning team says there's never been a better time to replace your old inefficient wood stove and install a new energy-efficient EPA-certified Vermont casting wood product in your home. The U.S. government is offering federal tax credits of 26% on your wood stove install for Vermont casting units that includes stoves, binning, and labor. Call or email Advanced Fireplace and Stove for a free in-home estimate. Call 435-752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Yes, that's us, Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker. We're here on the Full Court Press.
Yep. Allegedly.
Love to get your texts if you want to chime in, 435-339-0321. If you want to give us a score prediction for the College Football National Championship game, which will be getting underway here shortly, 435-339-0321 to chime in. In the meantime, let's see how well we did in trying to predict what would happen this past weekend. Our pick 6 things we think might happen. Jason takes 3, I take 3. So let's see how well we did. Lowry Markkinen, points plus rebounds plus assists at Chicago, set the line at 37.5. I took the under, you took the over. I immediately regretted the number, thinking it should be much higher based on his current trajectory that he was on. Turns out that was a pretty good number.
Yeah, I know. I was keeping an eye on this one.
Because he had scored 28 points. He only grabbed 4 rebounds and only had 3 assists. So the number was 35. So it's one for me. I got that one.
Yeah, for some reason he decided to not grab rebounds after averaging like a double-double for
I know. He was playing
6 straight games.
Monster. Zihamoda points at Boise State. Set the line at 7.5. I took the under, you took the over. He did not score a single bucket in that game. A little uncharacteristic. Who would have more passing yards in an NFL game between Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff? Aaron Rodgers threw for 205 yards. Jared Goff threw for 224. I took Goff. You took Rodgers.
Not having a very good day.
So far, I'm 3 for 3. This is like very uncharacteristic. Wins by the Jazz Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday over a 3-game span. Line was set at 1.5. How many wins would they get in that 3-game span? Line was set at 1.5. We both took the under, and we both got it right because they only won one. It's that game in Houston.
Yeah.
Wins by home teams in the Mountain West on Saturday. I took the over. You took the under. The line was set at 1.5. There are actually 2 home teams who won. So I got that right. So far, I'm a perfect 5 for 5. Come down to this one. Boise State over USU. Line was set at Boise State by 1.5. You took Boise State. I took USU. Boise State crushed that one. So even though you got the last one, I'm finding myself back in the win column.
There you go. At last, you got to win.
I know. Kind of feels weird now. I'm used to losing all of a sudden. I don't like it.
It's because I showed faith in the Jazz and the Aggies and Zihamoda
and Aaron
apparently
Rodgers.
And Aaron Rodgers, and my faith was misplaced apparently.
Yes. Another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press before we fully step aside. We'll get an update on things that happened in the Mountain West. I know we've kind of touched on them, but the Mountain West Conference produces a segment for us here on the Full Court Press. On the other side, we'll talk about what's going on with Region 11 basketball. The latest RPI rankings are out, and non-region play is done. Jason, you've put together kind of a region profile that recaps the season to this point with the latest RPI rankings. As region play gets underway on Thursday, it's kind of a unique schedule from what we're used to, because the boys would normally play on Wednesdays and Fridays, but for the first little bit of region play, they'll be on a Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, they're starting on
schedule.
Thursday, so it's going to be Thursday and then Tuesday and then Thursday.
Yeah, it's a little funky, but we'll give you a full rundown of what's going on there. And continue to get your score predictions for the championship game tonight, 435-339-0321. 0321.
This is your Mountain West basketball update with Matt and Everett.
Plenty to cover with 5 games on Saturday around the Mountain West. Everybody but Air Force in action around the conference. Nevada got the day started with a stifling 67-40 win on the road at San Jose State. Nick Davidson dropped a game-high 15 points with 9 boards off the Wolfpack bench. Here's John Ramey on Learfield with one of the freshman's makes.
Right side Keenan at the elbow. Gives it to Davidson, right side 3. Nick hits!
Colorado State earned their first Mountain West win in 4 tries with a 79-57 home victory over Fresno State, thanks to every starter scoring 9 points or more and a combined 48% three-point shooting performance as a team. Both sides will head on the road this week, with the Bulldogs traveling to San Jose State on Tuesday and Colorado State waiting until Saturday night in Las Vegas to take on the Runnin' Rebels of UNLV. In the tightest game around the conference on Saturday, San Diego State held on to a 1-point halftime advantage in an eventual 80-75 win in Laramie over a battered Wyoming squad. Lamont Butler went off in the Aztecs' 12th win of the year, dropping a season-high 23 points on 8 of 15 shooting, including a 5-for-11 mark from beyond the arc. Matt Bradley chipped in with 18 points as well in 31 minutes as San Diego State moved into second in the conference with a 3-0 mark to this point. Boise State sniped their way to a win over Utah State, shooting 50% from the field and a striking 58% from three-point range in an 82-59 conference win over the Aggies in Boise. Tyson Degenhart dominated down low, finishing with a 19-point, 10-rebound double-double, with all 5 Broncos starters scoring in double digits in the game.
Down low to Degenhart. Degenhart catches and pops it in with a little 2-footer underneath.
Bob Beeler called the action for this one on Learfield. Both sides remain tied for third in the Mountain West with 2-1 conference records. And in the game of the night around the conference, UNLV traveled to the sold-out pit in Albuquerque for a date with Richard Pitino's Lobos. The home side led by 5 at the half, but a dominant second from Runnin' Rebel guard E.J. Harkless guided the Rebels to an 84-77 conference win, their first of the year. Here's John Sandler with the call of one of Harkless' vital makes late in the game.
Rodriguez a pump fake, comes all the way under the basket, out to Harkless. Long 3 for E.J. Is good, and the Rebels have tied it up.
And that's your Mountain West basketball update. I'm Matt Everett.
Thermo Fisher Scientific is hiring for their manufacturing, distribution, and warehouse team. And that's great news for anyone seeking a rewarding career. Thermo Fisher offers positions across multiple shifts, competitive compensation, health benefits, paid time off, bonuses, and an excellent work environment. Help Thermo Fisher make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Visit jobs.thermofisher.com and search Logan. Thermo Fisher Scientific is an equal opportunity employer. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
Experience Sunday brunch at Prodigy Brewing on Center Street. Churro French toast, beignets and berries, and everyone's favorite chilaquiles. A delicious combination of eggs, house-made enchilada sauce, tortilla chips, avocado, and pico. Brunch has an all-new meaning of tasty when you visit Prodigy Brewing. Served Sundays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Prodigy's atmosphere is vibrant, energetic, and friendly. Whether it's with family or friends, Sunday brunch at Prodigy Brewing is a delicious experience. Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
Let's talk about getting your car registered. What a pain! With registration and emissions, it takes hours. Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan, across from Angie's, will take that pain away. Stop in to get your oil changed and have the emissions test done. Then re-register your car. It's that easy, all in one stop. The best thing, you can stay in your car while their trained pros service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 695 North Main, open 7 days a week.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. You still have time to turn on the championship game. You haven't missed anything.
Yeah, it's not started yet. It is on the cusp of starting, though. They've done the coin toss, and they're doing some other things. So the players are about to walk onto the field for the kickoff, or I assume they are. They keep panning between a bunch of different things, and it feels like they're about to start. But who knows? Here they are. They're on the field. So if you haven't turned it on, you have about 28 seconds. Probably less.
So the latest RPI rankings have been released.
Yeah, that's good for college football. Just no segue. Straight to high school.
We're just going straight to high school. High school hoops. Utah High School Activities Association reveals RPI rankings on Mondays for the latest rankings and standings. Region standings don't really matter anymore. It's all about the RPI.
They do if you're the top, if you want to get the region. Do they still hand out a trophy for doing it?
I don't know. If they add it to a banner or put a trophy somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah. It was weird because, like, this year, like, there were a bunch of people saying there was a tie, but based on, like, conventional tiebreakers, I think it was, wasn't it Skyview that won football region? I think? Or was it Ridgeline?
Well, Skyview beat Ridgeline at Ridgeline.
Yeah, except I think they ended up like tying and like somebody else said, but it was like based on conventional tiebreakers, Skyview clearly, but there were people saying, oh, they tied for regions. Like, no, they didn't. Skyview won the tiebreaker.
Well, anyway, so the latest RPI standings are out, and non-region play is done. So it gives us a chance to kind of look at where things are in the standings and the latest rankings for RPI and for both boys and girls. You put together a piece that focuses on boys basketball for Region 11 and with profiles of each team, kind of what's got them to this point, what their rankings are, and what it looks like for them going into region play starting on Thursday.
Yeah, so right now, like Skyview, they're at the top of RPI. They're ranked 1. They came into the season as the pretty much consensus favorites to win Region 11. They've done nothing to dissuade anyone of that opinion. They're looking very good. They're 10-2. Again, top of RPI. They look like a really good basketball team right now. Not too far behind them, though, is Ridgeline. Ridgeline, we put a lot of faith in them when we did our preseason predictions. We both said, okay, Ridgeline's lost a lot of guys, but we really trust what Kyle Day's been doing down there. And they've proved us right so far. They're 9-2. They're 4th in RPI. They're looking really good. They got Luke Sorensen down there playing some really good basketball. Might be one of the best players in Region 11 right now, at least individual players. So they're playing some really good ball. But if a surprise team, though, is Bear River. This is a team that we were probably both thinking maybe toward the bottom end of the standings. Well, they're 5th in RPI, and they're 9-3. So they're doing pretty good. They've seemed to turn things around. They've got Kyver Jensen and Garrick Marble down there. Marble's leading the region in rebounding, a little over 8 rebounds per game. Jensen's just had back-to-back really good games. Just before the new year, he put up 34 points. It was 34 or 35 points. He put up 25 the other night. He's one of the nominees for Player of the Week this week. And so Bear River, they're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, good start for the Bears, and there's some uncertainty. They graduated quite a few of their guys. We didn't know what key players they'd have coming back, and they've played really well. They've gone on the road. They've played well. They've played well in tournaments, and they've scheduled well. And puts them right there. Yeah, number 5, 9-3 overall. It's certainly one of the big surprises out of Region 11 so far. There's one team that's a surprise in a good way, and there's one team that's a surprise not so good way. Certainly Bear River is that team that's a surprise in a good way. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, we'll get to the team that's a surprise in a bad way. But Logan is a team that's, we kind of saw this coming a little bit where there were coaches in Region 11 who were pointing out, hey, Logan's going to be pretty good this year. And Logan's been... They've been good. They're 8-5. They've shown that they look really good against lesser teams. They are blowing out teams that, maybe have some big weaknesses, maybe don't have a good defense. They've won games by 30, 40 points. They've struggled a bit against better teams. They lost to Preston. They were kind of blown out of that game, and then they came back later. A really good Preston team. Woods Cross, they struggled against them. Good defensive team. They struggled. Almost pulled off a comeback against Box Elder, just couldn't quite do it in a game that was really exciting. But ultimately they came up short by 3 points there. So Logan has shown great potential on offense and even on defense where they do, a bit of a half-court trap defense and a zone defense where they can force turnovers really well. But sometimes they're just inconsistent. Sometimes they have turnovers. Sometimes they make mistakes. It's just they're on the cusp of being a really good team. And maybe if they fixed a couple of those things, they'd be right on par with Ridgeline and Skyview. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe they're a year out from being that, because a lot of these guys will be coming back next year. Maybe this is just kind of the breakout year before the real breakout year. But Logan has a chance to knock a couple of teams off if they catch him off guard, especially going into the Grizzly Den. Then Mountain Crest, they're a team that's in a similar boat. They have a worse record, but like every game they've been in, they've been competitive, even against good teams. Like 3 of their losses are by 2 points or less.
Yeah, very scrappy team.
Yeah, another one was by 5 points. So like there's one game where they were truly blown out, and that was Box Elder. They went on the road to Box Elder, who again is a good team, and they lost by like 20-something points. So this is a team, Mountain Crest, they have one of the better defenses in terms of points per game. I don't know if that's just a slower pace thing, but everyone Region 11 seems to want to play fast. So Mountain Crest, they have a good defense. They can play scrappy, and so teams that go up to Hiram, they're going to have to earn a win. You know, like I said, Logan kind of got blown out by Preston. Mountain Crest lost by 2 to Preston. Like, a really good Preston team. So teams beware when you go to Hiram. You might be in for a surprise. Mountain Crest may not be at the top of the standings when it's all said and done, because there's some weaknesses probably with that team, particularly in offense, where they struggle to score a bit. They may not end up at the top of the standings, but they might knock off a team or two. Like, Logan, who are going to be chasing the Ridgeline and Skyviews, they might go to Hiram and get knocked off. Even if they finish above Mountain Crest in the standings, they might lose a game there. Or maybe Ridgeline or Skyview. Like, it's possible that Mountain Crest finishes 4th or 5th, but has a couple of surprise wins.
Yeah, and then the team that's kind of surprised us that struggled so far this year is Green Canyon. Coach Logan Brown there. I know that they lost some key players to graduation last season, but there still felt like there was going to be enough talent coming back that they'd be in a lot more games than what we've seen them. I should say they've been in a lot of games, haven't been able to win a lot of games. They've only won 3 on the year so far. They've been competitive, but have struggled to get over the hump. And that's been a little bit of a surprise for Green Canyon. I think you and I both expected they'd be a little bit more competitive, at least with wins and losses. Not to say they haven't been competitive, but have a few more wins and losses than what they've had so far.
Yeah, and especially with Jared Anderson playing as well as he is. He put up 32 points the other night. He's been one of the better scorers in Region 11. But I think overall efficiency, Anderson's struggled a bit efficiency-wise. He'll put up a lot of shots, his scores, but again, he's kind of like the rest of his team. I'm not trying to place blame on him or just say the offense for them struggles a little bit. He's clearly a talented kid, but I think right now they're in a position where maybe they're just not getting the right shots. And maybe that's a bit of a difference, is if they're able to get the right shots, they'll be more consistent, because we figured they had the talent. Just right now they seem to not be quite putting it together. So we'll see how things go. In some cases, maybe there just has to be a team that's the worst. Maybe that's just how it's going to be this year for Mountain Crest or Green Canyon. Even though there's some talented kids on this team.
And you mentioned Box Elder, just to update on where they're at in the latest 5A standings. They are at number 5 in the latest RPI, and so they're doing really well in 5A. And Rich High School, number 8. They're at 7-4 overall in the 1A standings. And when you look at the girls basketball for Region 11, Ridgeline still has not lost a game. The Riverhawks have had some close ones. Or a game just this past weekend where it was a battle of 2 undefeated teams in Millville. It was, I believe it was Bountiful who came up to town, and Ridgeline handed Bountiful their first loss. But Ridgeline remains undefeated at number 1 overall. Green Canyon right behind him at number 2. Skyview at number 3. Mountain Crest at number 6. And Bear River at number 7. So we got a lot of really good basketball happening for the in girls basketball in region play.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ridgeline beating Bountiful. Bountiful's a really good girls basketball program. And so Ridgeline keeping on top, beating them. And
Bountiful is number 2 right now in 5A RPI.
Yeah, they're pretty good. So, I got to go out and see Ridgeline. I got to see I got to see this team in person. I see the numbers. I see the accomplishments. I've seen Ridgeline in the past. I've seen Jenks, Coach Jenks. I've seen her teams. But I got to go see it again because they're doing something special right now.
By the way, Box Elder in 5A girls basketball, they're number 16. They're at 6-6. And Rich, they're number 1 in 1A. Their girls basketball team is with the record of 8-1 overall, number 1 team in 1A basketball. By the way, Logan in Region 11 and 4A, they are at 13 with the record of 1-11. So we'll have region play starting this week. First games will take place on Thursday, so teams have a little bit of time to spend in the gym to work out some kinks and really take on the second part of the season with region play starting later this week. We'll have full play broadcasts on our family radio stations and streaming on CashValleyDaily.com.